Hi there and welcome back to Event Advice. I'm Matt Allen, joined by Will Custard, Product Director. Normally he's doing this bit, so I'm stepping into his shoes, which are slightly larger than mine, and trying. Today we are going to be talking about listening and learning, elevating product UX through client input, which I know you're going to be an expert at. So, look, we genuinely believe that we learn from our clients. How do we do that, and why do we focus on it, and why do we value it so much?
So, just to give a bit of background, I've obviously been a UX designer for sort of 20 years now.
Getting on, aren't you?
I know I don't look that
Getting
old.
on.
But obviously the fundamentals of user-centered design, as you would imagine, are based around listening and learning from watching people use the product, getting their feedback on it and learning from it. That's not to say that we're not experts in product design. And I say we because I behind me, I might be able to design pretty pictures, but we've got an excellent, brilliant team of engineers behind the scenes building this stuff. But we can't be, we don't want to be in a silo. We're not the guys on the ground running events. So we can do our best, but we really need to lean on the expertise from our clients who've done this hundreds and hundreds of times.
Yeah.
To let us know exactly what they need. Now, there is a balance to be struck between, so I always call it the naivety is one of our strengths.
Yep.
So we don't always want to know exactly what you want. So we want to know how you've dealt with our product and what we've got out there. But trying to push a product forward, sometimes you need a wider lens than just talking about the.
Is that the kind
event.
of, I hear you mention this so often, it's like, whilst I want to know what you've done previously, I actually want to look at how we can do it better.
Yeah, so quite often we'll hear solutions rather than the problem you're trying to fix.
Yeah.
Now, there might be some really clever ways to fix that. And obviously we know our software suite, but we do want to be allowed the breathing space to actually sit back and think about the problem from a slightly higher level and from an industry-wide level.
Yeah.
So we always try and get the problem out of the client that they're trying to achieve rather than the thing that they sometimes want built.
If we didn't do that, we'd all be building the same thing.
Yeah, exactly. And you have to try new things. You have to take influences from other places and things like that. We don't just look at what competitors can do. We look at, okay, what are automotive manufacturers doing? What are, space exploration? What are, not to be too grand about it, but you have to be really trying to push what we're doing.
You have to think bigger than the events industry.
Yeah, exactly.
That's something that we always discuss, and that is no offense to the events industry.
Yeah.
But you have to look bigger in terms of budgets,
Yeah.
bigger in terms of expectations of technology. I can see that we're always doing that. I suppose the first question is, how do we collect that feedback at the moment? What kind of vehicles do we have for collecting it?
So there's a few different ways we do it, and we do it internally and externally. We have mechanisms in place for anyone who's worked on an event internally, can gather feedback from clients, we've got a specific Jira board. So Jira's a sort of software building piece of software that we use to kind of go through tickets one at a time to build things. We have a board specifically for feature requests and one for bug requests. Let's not worry about the bugs just at this moment. But feature requests come from a client debrief. So every single event has a client debrief. You and I, quite often throughout the week, will be jumping on with clients. So it's not necessarily their debrief, but we can couple it up between a kind of roadmap call. So, a lot of clients want to know what's coming.
It's my favourite time of the week when we do those.
Yeah, they're very, yes, it's talking about what's coming up, but also getting them a bit of an early view of the product so they can see and give us their feedback as early as possible.
It fits into the development roadmap. How often do we get those kind of Eureka moments when we're talking to clients and they give us something?
Oh, it's great. I mean, it's very frequent, really, isn't it? It's because we hear and listen to all the different clients and all the different problems.
Yeah, big or small.
Quite often, you can find a bit of a crossover. And you can kind of see that Venn diagram of, okay, what everyone wants and what actually the sort of common problems we're seeing, and then think, oh, do you know what? We were just discussing this the other day, and what you've just said would actually solve a problem that another client has had, and if we built this thing this way, it would do those two things, and we got two birds with one stone, and things like that. So it is, those client calls are our favourite bit, and they are the most crucial bit to what we do. Now, we also have sort of expert steering committees. So we've got people in the industry we know we can talk to. We have regular catch-ups, people like Leanne Velke, if we're talking about registration. It's making sure we've got not just clients, but industry voices who might be seeing other issues with other pieces of software. It's just continual listening and development. And like I said, the earlier view of the product you can get, the more you might be able to influence what's going on, and it can you can mold it into the thing that you were actually looking for. And what we're trying to strike upon now, I am not comparing us to Apple or Steve Jobs.
Are you just comparing yourself
No,
to
I'm
Steve
not
Jobs?
doing it. I'm not doing it.
Sounded like it for a second then.
But he knew when the iPhone came around, no one was asking for the iPhone because people couldn't imagine that that's what they wanted.
Conceptualised it there.
So there is always an element of, that's where, what problem are we trying to solve is I mean, we're not developing the new iPhone, but like we do try and push the idea as far as we can go with that.
It's a good point. I mean, it's a challenging situation. If we didn't listen and if we didn't lean on our clients, there'd be no way with a team of 16, and we're competing against products with 100, 200, 500, sometimes thousands of developers. We've got to make the right decisions.
Yeah.
The importance on us making the right decisions is so great that we have to be so active in our listening, and then we have to rely on brilliant people internally, led by yourself, someone with 20 years old and, a bit beyond it.
Yeah.
But with huge experience and, joking aside, how much I respect how good you are at your job. Like, literally the best UX designer I've ever worked with. So we've got great people, but we still have to listen. And we still have to make better choices than anyone else.
You've got to fail fast.
Yeah.
Like we've got to fail faster than other people. If we're a very agile team. We pride ourselves on how traditionally agile we are. Now, I'm not talking about like Scrum or like methodologies to running projects and things like that. It's agile in the traditional sense of, we are conversations over documentation. We make sure we catch up every day. We have very, very regular project catch-ups. We talk to the wider team. We talk to clients. We talk to the wider industry. We are looking constantly. You send us out to trade shows, to technology shows, to things like that. It's a much bigger job than just an event software business. So we've got to keep listening and learning.
So I think listening again, it's the key of this. That combination of listening and innovation. We will continue to value your feedback. It is always welcome. It is never considered a burden to get your feedback, because we know that if you give us feedback, it's because you're wanting to better the experience for your delegates. I'm just going to end on something you said to me. It's like a change of mindset that I had 5 or 6 years ago when we started working on this project together. And you asked me who my clients were, and I gave you Nike, Google, Deloitte. I went through clients. So these are our clients, and you said no, that isn't your client. The people we've got to be mindful of are the people that are using our technology. We've got a responsibility, not just to the admins who create these experiences, but the sole purpose is creating those moments and allowing those experiences for the end user. And that kind of it seems so obvious now, and I feel so naive at the time for misinterpreting the value of that, but it's been fundamental to our success since then.
Well, we have two different persona types that we're always designing for. Like you say, if the delegate has a great time and or the exhibitor has a really successful event, the basking in the reflective glory of that for the organizer is what's going to make them come back again and use the application. We're also, we've touched in other videos about our sort of 90% SaaS platform and our self-build customers and empowering people to do that sort of thing. The important bit there is the CMS, the learning curve of the CMS is shallower than it used to be. So we've spent a good chunk of time over the last 2 to 3 years making sure we've got the right design patterns for the CMS. Everything you do, once you've done it once, it's a similar pattern through every other feature that we design.
Yeah.
What designers can kind of fall into the trap of is every time you come to design something new, you're designing it slightly differently. And that's kind of how our old CMS was a bit. You could tell that someone wanted to put a fresh idea into it. So the discipline of making sure that you're not trying to reinvent the wheel every time you come and design a piece of software for the organisers, so they're very familiar with what's going on, and giving the delegate or the exhibitor or the sponsor or whoever it might be on the front end the best experience they could possibly do, that they could possibly have. And what we want really from that end, the front end as we call it, the sort of delegate app, is to take us out of the equation.
Yeah.
We want people to think that you've built it.
Yeah.
That you've spent time internally, you've got either you've got a team of engineers, or you've thought about this project and you wanted to kind of build it for yourselves and you've built the technology. We want them to think that you've done it, that we've got nothing to do with it.
That they value you having done it.
Exactly.
I think, it's about, we've talked about this in other videos, it's about us being humble in our involvement.
Yeah.
Our job is to give you a vehicle for conversations, a vehicle for delivering content to your audience. It's about you turning up and us having a connection and meeting. It's about an exhibitor driving revenue. But we're just creating the vehicle for that to happen, and we want to do it in a way that enables you to get the credit for doing that. We don't need that credit.
No, absolutely not. I mean, it's a bit like golf, right? So the goal of golf is to play as little golf as possible. So go around in as few shots as possible. So you don't want to be, the better you are, the less golf you play in a round. We want to be out of the way. The less work you have to do in the CMS to have an absolutely amazing experience for your delegates, the better for us.
Yeah.
So the quicker you can do things, the less time you spend in CrowdComms, the more likely you are to come back and play again.
I've never heard you use that golf metaphor, Will. It's a good one.
Thank you very much.
It's a goodie. Look, great fun actually sitting this way round and interviewing you.
Yeah, nice.
It's harder interviewing, isn't it? In some ways.
Especially, when you have to keep track of things. Yeah,
I've completely not kept track.
I mean,
of
it's
things,
easy when we just chat.
Thanks again as always, and thank you for listening in. Please do subscribe if you haven't. We'd love to get some feedback on these sessions. We can see that lots of people are watching them, and we're greatly appreciative of that because it again validates why we're here doing them. But comment, let us know what you feel about it. Let us know the stuff you're enjoying, so that we can, practice what we preach, take on board that feedback, change what we're doing and improve it. But thanks again, and we'll look forward to talking with you soon.